What's up, guys? I didn't really plan this video, but I don't know. I'm gonna try and roll with it and see if I can do it anyways. I'm gonna try and teach you some basic problem-solving skills. Um, and I'm gonna talk about identifying things, understanding things by their basics, and um, how that relates to the way you are categorizing things, basics and like categories. Yeah, that's going to be the lesson today. We're going to talk about basics and categories. Okay. So let's say we're trying to understand something like, I mean, really, it does even come down to when you just are deciding what you want to understand or figure out, how you even look at it in the first place. So if you have something like, maybe you want to be better at, you want to be better at cooking, and you might think, okay, the first thing you might think to do is to go and learn some recipes, which I guess is it's a fine. That could be the first thing you do, but really, if you're trying to do something like learn how to cook, um, with almost anything, you want to understand it by its basic components. So then, how would you identify the basic components of cooking? Okay, so let's try to. So we need to try and think. The first question you're going to ask is, well, what is cooking? What is cooking? And often what I'll go to for this is I'll look up on my phone what the definition of cooking is. I can't use my phone right now because um I'm filming the video, but I'll make up a definition for the video's sake. So let's say I looked up cooking on my phone, and the definition says, I don't know, the act of preparing food in a way so that it can be consumed um in a, enjoyable, or in a way that's more enjoyable, or easy, or something. It'll say something like specific like that, and now you have all of these terms to go off of. It's like, oh, so I'm trying to make food more enjoyable. I'm trying to make it more beautiful, maybe. I'm trying to make food, and it's about food. Cooking's about food. Okay, what is food, right? So now you're looking into food, and you might realize, there's all sorts of categories of food. Oh, okay. So now I'm really getting into what cooking is, right? What it really is. So, okay. So now we're like, make it enjoy. So what does it mean to make something more enjoyable? I mean, this can get very philosophical. At some point, you might just want to cut, you might just want to, cut to the chase early. You can, but it's not the best, because then, you're working with it. You want to try and go as, it's because then when I'm looking into what's enjoyable, well, let me see. I look into what's enjoyable. What does it mean to make something more enjoyable? You might say something about well, then you're all getting into some whole philosophy. Yeah, you kind of have to cut it short. If you're just trying to learn to cook, you have to cut it short. But it gives you, for me, it's like, what I'm going to say is, okay, I'm making it. Well, see, but now I'm just talking about, I'm trying to teach problem solving skills. I don't know. Let's forget that for now. See, this is getting all complicated. We're gonna go to the next thing, because this is crazy. Enjoyable? What the fuck? That's such a deep concept. Okay, we're going to the next thing. What is food? Okay, categories of food. Great. I have all these things to look at. Different categories of food. You got meat, you got rice, and you got that, whatever. Okay, and cooking is the art of preparing the food. So you don't want to get lost in that. You want to keep the things related to each other. Okay, so now we have the categories of food, and we have the thing that we're doing. Okay, so we're trying to take these categories of food and mix them together, right? So now I'm relating these categories, this food, this deeper understanding of food, back to my basic definition of cooking. So we're trying to mix all these categories of food, prepare them in a way that is more enjoyable, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so the categories of food. What else is it? More enjoyable or efficient, maybe? We're trying to eat it more efficiently? Okay. I don't think the definition would say something like that, honestly. I don't know. I don't have the actual definition. Okay, we're taking the categories of food, and what are we doing with them? We're pairing them. Oh, we're mixing them together. So then I might think like, how? How am I going to mix them together? Well, now I'm going to be getting more specific here because I know the categories of food and I know what I'm trying to do with them. So I might, maybe just pick one of the categories here, how to prepare meat. Um and I suppose it depends on what the purpose is. If you're trying to actually like cook. I always recommend really actually trying to learn the skill for what it is, rather than just doing some like sort of hack, because you can always just like learn a bunch of recipes and hack cooking. But and that might be a good way to get started if you really need to cook like right this second. But if you're I really do recommend actually, diving into the skill a little bit and at least learning, because I can tell you some of the things that I've learned over the course of cooking is you want to mix fats with acids. And then you might learn what acids are. You have like pickled vegetables. It's a way of preserving vegetables. So you might learn about food preservation. Oh yeah, it's about, pragmaticism too. Cooking is a little bit about that. Pragmaticism. You want to like prepare the food. You can like pickle things. Pickling is when you put it in vinegar. You soak a vegetable or something in vinegar, and it like kills all the bacteria and it makes it last a long time, preserving it in vinegar. And it makes it acidic, so you can take pickled vegetables and mix them with fats, with something, maybe you're preparing a dish and you're just making something, and you put some fat, like rice with oil. And you don't want to just eat like plain rice with oil, and you think, what do I have? Oh, well, I have some pickled onions in the fridge, so you might add some pickled onions into that, and that's like basic combination. And that's not really a recipe, like rice with pickled onions. Who the fuck would eat that? But if the rice has a good amount of oil in it, it might actually be kind of decent because of the basic pairing. And then you might learn, well, preparing things in a way that's more enjoyable. What is enjoyable is actually often related to culture. So you have the foods from different cultures. It might not be so enjoyable to mix foods of different cultures. I mean, when you're talking about enjoyable, you really do need to understand the mind at this point, because how are you going to understand how to make food enjoyable if you don't even understand what enjoyment is? And it is a little bit subjective at that point. So if cooking is sort of an art form, um, what else are we talking about here? So we're cooking, we're making the food. All right, so now we got our food. The rice with pickled onions. Great, a great meal. That was a great meal we just had. A rice with pickled onions. Now we might dive into the culture a little bit. This is possibly a great time when we can dive and look into a recipe now. But see, now, when we're diving in and looking into the recipe, we have a way of understanding it. We have something to relate the recipe to, a basic understanding of cooking that we can relate this recipe to. So now that I'm looking at this recipe, I'm thinking about, oh, look at the way the flavor, the whatever's being paired. Oh yeah, it's about nutrition too. Oh, is this nutritious? Look at the nutrition, and then you're starting to think about the nutrition of the food and the cultures with their different preferences. And really, I mean, you typically, I don't recommend just trying to learn like one thing. I mean, I guess you can focus, but I like to learn multiple things at once, because you can just kind of bounce around between things, and find just like the most fruitful path from where you are and where you can go. So at this point, like, you might want to like stop cooking and just look into like culture, and then at some point you might find something, and then it comes back maybe to something you were doing like the day before. That's kind of like ADHD, but I think it's actually pretty practical. If you can afford to do it. Anyway, so we're cooking, we have our food, we're looking at the cultures, looking at the recipe with the cultures. There is a lot of redundancy here because when you're trying to relate things so deeply, you kind of have to go over it a few times. And then you might start to wonder, well, is that effective to sit here going over things over and over again? It's a style, I would say it's a style. I mean, really, if you weren't like fucking like, I don't know, maybe you don't have to sit there going over things. You know what? I just think it's better, honestly, because how else are you gonna do it? I mean, I guess you might start to figure these things out normally, but, well, here's the thing is because here's the thing, as long as you know what I'm talking about, as long as you know this first, you don't have to do it the exact way I'm telling you to do it. But you could just learn the recipe. Wow, I actually do this. I actually do this plenty. Where I'll just dive into something, just not give a fuck, and just basically I'm just living it. And then later, I'll come back and kind of cover everything. See, now I'm kind of questioning my own methods here. There's definitely lots of improvements I can make. Things I haven't really been able to focus on this recently because I'm like so focused on my fucking life right now. So I've kind of like lost some of my skills, to be honest. But man, it's getting hot in here. This is what I'm talking about, man. It's hard to fucking keep yourself. It gets fucking hot in my car, man. And now I gotta interrupt myself to go turn on my fan. It's fucking annoying, dude. Because nobody wants a guy who thinks they know how to fucking solve problems better than they do. They get too fucking offended, man. That's one of the disadvantages to becoming a smarter person is you start to actually become smarter than people, and then people get offended when you think when you just are being yourself. You're not allowed to be yourself anymore. Damn, I look fucking ugly now that the light is coming in. Look at my. I mean, I know I've had this the whole fucking video. This just not blah. It's like fucking like I don't know, old man shit, man. Alright, that's enough for the lesson. Hope you guys learned something. Bye.